Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I got a message today from one of my team members saying that they wanted to leave because I was being rude and aggressive with them. And in this story, I'm going to share with you a lesson that's going to help you deal with and manage the relationships around you a lot better, especially the relationships with those people that you consider idiots, the difficult, stupid people that get on your nerves. This video is going to show you how actually maybe you, just like I'm the real idiot. Don't worry, it's going to make sense. So look, I get a message. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ustad Imran, I've made istikhara and I'm considering leaving. But I would like to speak to you first before I make my final decision. So this message really upset me and it really annoyed me. You know why? Because I've had a very good relationship with this employee. A very good relationship. And the last week has been tough. It has been tough. I've been putting pressure on him to improve, to raise his standards. Because at the same time, you want to create a non-toxic, healthy environment in your company, in your project, in your masjid, in your team, in your friendship circle. But at the same time, pressure makes diamonds. When you go to the gym, you stress your muscle. It tears slightly, but it grows back stronger. So I was a bit tough with him. And guess what? This toughness actually made him perform at a level that he's never ever performed. He's been working with us for almost a year and he's never ever performed as effectively and as competently as he had since I put this pressure on him with the last permission. Anyways, so we jump on a three-way call, me, him, and a mediator from our team. And the brother, he basically says, look, I've been rude to him. I have been rude to him. And, he just didn't appreciate that. And basically I made him feel like he was disposable and that I could just drop him and replace him. And, he felt like, so he had convinced himself that I don't want him in the company anymore. And that's why I'm being rude to him because I just want to I just want him to go. So that was the narrative in the story that he told himself. And he told himself that story because I'll tell you why. But that led him to then believe that, okay, cool. Now, because that's the frame, that's the lenses he's wearing. When I'm being direct with him, when I'm being candid with him, albeit with a bit of pressure and intentional, healthy stress, he's interpreting that pressure as rude. Do you understand? So I tried to explain to him. I said, listen, bro, number one, I'm angry. And the reason I'm angry is because you can't just say you want to leave because you don't know how to manage conflict. Conflict is a thing that a man does day to day. You have to learn and you have to manage conflict. We've had months where there's been no conflict. It's been hunky-dory, roses. And you had 1 week where I put pressure on you and you want to throw in the towel. Not only that, you're actually doing better, which means that the pressure worked. The pressure worked because you are now producing diamonds. Hitch wasn't getting it. He was like, no, you said something to me that made me feel this way. So what is it that I said? He said, look, you said that if you don't get this job done, or if you don't do this job right, then maybe this isn't the place for you. Maybe this place isn't the place for you to work. I was like, yeah, it's a very logical, rational statement to make. If you don't do the role for which we hired you, then maybe this isn't the best place for you to work. But I was like, but then even then you went and did the role very well since we've had that conversation. So then it follows naturally that we do want you to stay. That this is the place for you to work. If you get the job done, then this is for you. He just wasn't getting it. And he kept repeating this point. So I realized, I was like, you know what, bro? I'm dealing with a green. What on earth am I talking about? Let me share it with you. So this book I read right here is called Surrounded by Idiots. Surrounded by Idiots. And the thesis of the book is very interesting. So the guy is, so the guy who authored the book, Thomas Erickson, sorry. He mentions he met a CEO of a company and he was just like, everyone around me is just an idiot. My whole team they're just idiots. So he was like, who's the idiot who hired the idiot? So the CEO is the bigger idiot. And he was like, look, when I had that conversation, I was just amazed by this guy. Like, he was convinced everyone around him is an idiot, but he hired them. Why does he think that he's not an idiot? And he was, and the thesis of the book is that, if you think everyone around you is an idiot, they aren't. You're the idiot, because you just don't understand how humans behave, and humans behave differently. So he breaks humans down into 4 personalities. There's a lot of generalization in the book, but it's freakishly accurate. Reds, blues, greens, and yellows. So let me break it down to you very quickly, because it's very, very, very beneficial for da'wah, for business, for sales. In fact, he's a sales guy. He's got a sales background. For negotiations, for just managing your team, for just getting you there. Like your wife, your children, you're going to see this is going to be like gold for you. So reds are those that are dominant. They're direct. They're leaders. They're relentless in getting the job done. They work hard. Reds, dominant. Yellows are inspiring, social. They like to talk. Extroverts, they infectious, charming, right? Then there are blues. They're analytical. Everything for them is facts, figures, right? Strategic, prepared. They're the ones that they know everything. They've got all the details, all the information. And then the 4th is greens. And these are the guys that are compassionate. They're compassionate. They don't want to hurt anyone. They don't want to upset anyone. They're always going to be there to help you. They're submissive. They like to serve. So those are the positive traits. Now let's look at the negative of each. So the reds, who are dominant, are also actually very aggressive, egotistical, sometimes arrogant. They offend and upset people. Yellows, who are very charismatic and inspiring and social. They like to be the center of attention. They're self-centered. They talk a lot. They exaggerate. They don't know when to shut up. They just don't know when to shut up, man. They talk too much. And then you have the blues. The blues, they just nitpick at everything. Like, you'll be stringing a sentence along and they'll be like, it's grammatically incorrect. You're having a discussion with them. They've always got something to say. They're just so nitpicky. They're so slow when they get things done. Everything, if they don't have the whole picture, they won't do the task. They're very factual, analytical, mathematical, and it becomes a hindrance and impediment in them doing the work. And then you've got greens, who are really, really easily hurt and emotional. They take things personally. They take things deep. And here's the thing. They hold it in. And they don't actually let you know that they're upset until it builds and 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 it builds. Oh, wait, no. They can take more. It builds and it builds and it builds and it builds and it keeps on building. Oh, no, they can take more, and it builds and it builds. And then they are like, I want to leave the job. I want a divorce. That's when they go nuts. Like, when a person who's like, bruv, that wasn't even your character. Why are you acting like that? This usually happens. Like when you find marriages where it ends up in divorce after like a decade. There was a green in there, most likely. They were just taking it. And then they were like, bruv, 10 years are going to throw in the towel. Yeah, because, it got along. Anyway, point being is that all these characteristics, they have pros and cons. And based on these pros and cons, there's different ways of communicating with them. There's different ways of convincing them, different ways of motivating them, encouraging them, delivering bad news to them. And the book goes through all this in detail. Now, when it comes to delivering bad news to a green, because my brother here was a green, and by the way, the majority of people on earth are greens. Reds are the minority. In case you're wondering, I'm a yellow-red. So I'm yellow primarily, then red secondary. Some people are only one color, some are two, some are three. And I don't know if there are any that are for all 4. But yeah, so, usually it's very easy to clock who it is. So me being a yellow, laugh, joke, charismatic, inspiring, fun, life of the party, halal party, of course. But at the same time, I can be direct and act, don't play, bro. That's wrong. Fix that. So based on which character you're talking to, you got to know how to deal with them. So reds. And reds are my favorite people to give bad feedback to. Favorite people to negotiate with. Favorite people to do deals with. You know why? Because I don't have to flave anything up. Because they're aggressive, they can take it when you're aggressive back. Nah, bro, that's wrong. Don't do that. No. I want this, I want that. No. Give me 50% of your business. Give me 50% of the revenue. You go back, they're not getting offended. They're not getting offended. Yeah, they're going to get aggressive. They're going to push back. You got to go to war with a red and be a red at heart. If you're going to go to war with a red, if you're a blue, you're green, you got to come with that red in your heart. You got to stand up to them, toe to toe, eye to eye. They respect that. And they will look angry, but they're not angry. They're not angry. They're just giving it to you. I love talking to reds. Blues, is hard to talk to them because when you want to give them advice, feedback, they're smart, Alex. They always look at, no, but the text message didn't say this, or you missed out this one word. And because you missed out this one word, I didn't understand that. You know, you're always, show me where it says that in the report, show me where it says that in the document. You know, they're long. You have to come prepared for them, man. Yellows, they just don't like to admit their mistakes. So it's hard to talk to yellow. I actually don't like talking to yellows, even though I'm yellow. I like to think of myself aware yellow, so I can acknowledge my mistakes. But greens, these are the ones where, and because you can imagine why it makes sense why most people on earth are greens. When you try to give them advice, they take it personally. They get offended. So you have to keep reminding the green, listen, bro, it's not you, it's the system. It's not you, it's the process. You're great, I love you. You're fantastic. Just want to fix this one thing. Separate between him and the action, or her and the action, right? So I'm talking to this brother and he kept bringing up how he felt emotionally in terms of me saying, Ak, if you don't get this job done, then maybe this isn't the right place for you to work. He's like, he interpreted as, he doesn't want to work with me. He took it personally. So the brother was agreeing. But you know what? Today, I wasn't going to let him pass as a green. Because despite being a green, you need to look out for them and be sensitive towards them. I needed him to know that this is a bad characteristic. The fact that you don't know how to deal with conflict. I can pacify you and be a guy who knows how to talk to greens because I read the book. I could do that, and I do that day in, day out. But today I want you to learn how to handle friction, how to handle conflict and bounce back, and not throw in the towel, and not interpret things that way. So I'm giving him training now on basically, how to be better. Because look, fundamentally, you want to be a balance of all four, because all four have great characteristics. They also have bad things as well. You want to avoid the bad things of all four, and you want to maximize the good things of all four, right? Personality types. Imagine you can be charismatic, inspiring, but at the same time direct, and a leader that's hardworking, who's very analytical, doesn't miss anything, and is compassionate, and able to connect with people on an emotional, empathetic level. Wow, what an amazing human being! I think that kind of sounds like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But point being is that, you want to try and get all of these. So look, I really would recommend the book Surrounded by Idiots. He's also got a book called Surrounded by Psychopaths. They're both in here. And actually, I haven't read this one, even though it's in my ones to read, but Surrounded by Bad Bosses and Bad Employees, which is literally his theory, or it's not his theory, but this theory of personalities applied to the workspace. So I do want to read that, inshallah ta'ala, but I don't want it to be overkill, which is why I'm, not banging out back to back that author right there. But yeah, man, knowing this is very beneficial. I actually realized most of the people in my life that I've had issues with are greens. And it's because another problem that greens have, is that they don't actually like if they're going for a difficulty, they'll be patient. Remember, because they have this ability to really hold in a lot of the pain and suffering, and only when it maxes out after years of suffering, do they actually just flip. So imagine the green's got a problem in life, like a financial problem, a marital problem, a health problem. He's fat, he's obese, he's broke, whatever the weather. There's never enough pain to get them to actually make the change. These are the hardest guys to convince. Yo, bro, fix your life. If they work for you, they won't move. That's why, for example, now in my company, alhamdulillah, I think we only have one green, this brother. And the reason why I think he's so hardworking, definitely he's got a good work ethic. And not every green has going to have all the characteristics, all the negative and positive flaws of that particular color. So he doesn't have all the negative ones. But point being is that, look, greens are greens, and generally they don't get the work done. They're the ones that you have to really inspire them and motivate them, and they might just about move for a day or two, then they fall back into their normal behavior. So the reason why right now in our company, if you are a green, you're going to thrive, is because the culture of the company is based off blues and yellows and reds, which means that everyone is grinding and working hard. So look, guys, this is a very beneficial book. I'd advise you guys to check it out. And there's so much I have to say about it. I'm referencing in the Child Mobile podcast. It's actually been I've looked into human behavior, psychology, personality types for over a decade plus. This framework was very simple, very applicable, very practical, strikingly accurate, and I think can be very, very beneficial in da'wah, in sales, in management, in relationships with family, friends, parents, children, and so on and so forth. With that said, God love you and leave you. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Listen, in the comments, let me know what you think Abu Bakr is. Abu Bakr, my partner, Child by Ratchridge. Tell me what you think Abu Bakr is in the comments. If you've clocked, you can't miss it. If you've been watching our content, you will know what he is in a second.